In this week's episode of Working with Todoist, it's all about pure GTD. Hello and welcome to this 130th episode of Working with Todoist. My name is Carl Pauline, and in this week's episode I'm going to show you how you can turn Todoist into a pure GTD tool. Now, the problem that most people have when they set up GTD is they add dates to their tasks. Now, GTD is not about adding dates to tasks. The most important thing in GTD is the context. That's the people, the place, or the tool that you have with you. So if you are with your spouse and you need to discuss something with your spouse, then you look at your list of your context, i.e. your label in Todoist. You look at the label and you see, okay, I need to talk to my wife about this year's vacation, or as we're in November, maybe next year's vacation. Likewise, if you have to write a report and to do that, you need to do it on your computer, then you would add the label computer, because you can't do that while you're driving. You can't do that while you're shopping with your family on a weekend. None of that can happen. You cannot write the report if you don't have your computer with you. Now, that is how GTD works in a nutshell. That's why your calendar is incredibly important in GTD, because any date-specific tasks or deadlines go into your calendar. So what I'm going to do in this week's episode, I'm going to show you how you would set it up if you wanted to use a pure GTD tool. Now, there is no real right or wrong way of doing this, but the thing that you really have to understand is that you are not using dates to tell you what to do. You're using people, place, or tool to tell you what to do. So we're going to go into Todoist in a moment, but before we do that, I would just like to say, if you like this video, please click on the like button, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please subscribe. Okay, let's go into Todoist and I'll show you exactly what I mean. Right, where we need to start when we're building a pure GTD system in Todoist is not in the projects view where most people would start, but we would actually be starting in the labels view. Now, labels in Todoist is context in GTD, getting things done. So basically what we need to be doing is we will be collecting tasks on a daily basis in our inbox. So they get collected and then we process our inbox at the end of the day. That's normal, that's fine. But essentially, we're not adding dates when we process our inbox. What we're doing is, the key first is to add the context or the label, and then just allocate it to the project that's relevant. So the project essentially is just a holding area for your tasks. And actually, they come in use when you do your weekly review, which is why in GTD world, the weekly review is so important, because that is where you check that everything is up to date and there's nothing slipping through the cracks. But on a day-to-day basis, this is the view that you are working from, your labels view. Okay, so we really do need to get that one sorted out. So let's imagine that I've gone into the office this morning and I've got here and I've got 3 tasks that's come up on my office label, which says 2018 business plan. Now, what I'm going to do here is I will probably have looked at my calendar. So let's have a look at my calendar first. So this is when I'm doing my daily review. I've got teaching first thing in the morning. Then I've got myself a writing task between 10 and 11:30. Then I'm teaching again. And then I've got this is from this week. Sorry, I need to go into my next week. So I've actually pre-prepared this. By the way, this is the new Google Calendar. I think it actually looks fantastic because it's really bright and sharp and you can make it look fantastic. But that's beside the point. So I've got here between 1 p.m. and 3:30 or 3:45, I am working on the 2008 business plan. So that's helping me because that is what I've scheduled my time to do at that particular time. So I would go back to my Todoist, I open my Office label and I see, okay, I've got all these 3 things to do in my actual 2008 business plan. And that's essentially what I'm working from. So what you're not doing, if I go into my into that actual project, here we have the the project itself. As you can see, I have absolutely no dates in there because there's no point. I don't really need to do anything unless I really have scheduled anything to do at that particular point. So as I say, go back to my calendar, between 1 p.m. and 3:45 p.m., that is the time that I'm going to be working on my 2018 business plan. So I can actually go into the project itself and just work from that. Or if I'm in the office, I can click on my office and I can work on my office. Now, one of the things that I would suggest you do, if you really want to follow the pure GTD system in Todoist, then use your filters, because chances are that your office and computer are going to be worked together. So if we go into the office, I'm going to add a filter. We'll call this office work. And the query we'll put is at computer. And I need to make sure that I'm spelling these right. Comma and at work. Hopefully this is right. I've gone blind. So here we go. We've actually got the 3 tasks that have come up here: at computer and at work. For some reason, maybe I don't have a label. No, I don't. You see, that's the problem. I do have probably work on here. Go back into that and we'll put at office. So I will change that label. Edit them. This is what always happens. I always forget what labels I have. So office. So save. And now I'm at the office. I have my office work filter here. And there we go. I can just go work from that. I'm in the office. I'm at the computer. These are all the tasks that I can do at this moment in time. So when you take advantage of Todoist's powerful filters, then you can actually find yourself being able to use a pure GTD system. And to me, that is a really, really good way of utilizing Todoist if you want to use a pure GTD system. Now, the thing is, most of us have been using GTD for a while, and I started using it way back 2009. I have modified it. I do use dates in and I do make full use of the today view. But if you're one of those people who really wants to follow the actual GTD system as laid out in the book, then this is the way to do it. Basically, you're working from the label. So let's imagine that I'm now home and my wife, I've got nothing in my wife, but I'm at home. I need to take the garbage out. Now, the problem I have here is the garbage needs to be taken out on a specific day. That actually would be, in GTD world, that would be a task that you put into your calendar, and it would come up here on the top line view in Google Calendar, and you can do it there. Incidentally, by the way, if you are going to do it this way, what I could do is I could actually create, as you see here, I've got a calendar here for Todoist. So I could switch this over to my Todoist calendar and it would come up in Todoist. But that really isn't pure GTD. So I don't want to do that. That isn't really pure GTD. Pure GTD is you do separate the tasks. The tasks that are time specific and need to be done on a specific day, they go in your calendar. Tasks that you can get round to doing as and when you have time, well, they are in your to-do list manager, in this case Todoist, as I've got here, and they're all organized by labels. And essentially that is it. So if you want to use the pure GTD system using Todoist, then you are not going to need dates, because anything that needs a date would be in your calendar over here. But anything that isn't date time sensitive, or time sensitive as we call it, that would be allocated through your labels, and your project list is used only for your weekly review and perhaps your daily mini review, or if you've time blocked time so that you can actually get on with working on a specific project because the deadline is coming up. Okay, hopefully that gives you a view. Please understand, though, you don't necessarily have to use the pure GTD system. The beauty of GTD is it's so flexible. You can create your own system around it. And what I find is over time, people do develop their own way of using GTD. So what you find is GTD is at the core of a person's system, but they've developed their own system over and above that, which works for them. And that's really the goal. Remember, the goal is to find a system that works for you. My system might not work for you. Your system might not work for me. And that is perfectly okay. GTD is just the core to get yourself going. Okay, hopefully for all those people who keep asking me about the GTD system and how to use it with Todoist, hopefully that has answered your questions. If you want to go into a lot more detail on this, I do have a series of videos, Todoist and GTD, which I'll put a link in the notes section below so you can actually watch that whole playlist. I think there's about 4 or 5 videos in there that can really help you. Okay, thank you very much for watching this episode. I hope you all have a very, very productive week.